night, certainly not the way the Angels wanted to kick off this homestand. Today is Cinco de Mayo. They're handing out sombreros, looking for a celebration, trying to snap this 4-game losing streak. Hi, everybody, from inside the Big A. We welcome you back to Angels baseball here on Fox Sports West, along with Mark Gubiza. I'm Victor Rojas. The Angels offense continues to struggle, although they did pick up a couple of home runs in the ball game yesterday, but compared to last year, still struggling to not only get guys on base, but when they do, be able to score them.
Yeah, Victor, Mike's always looking for that connection in the lineup. We know the top of the order has been doing a good job. It's the rest of the order, and take a look at our AT&T Universe Rewind. Finally, we had some continuity in the lineup, especially later in the game. Matt Joyce finally squared up a baseball. He had some pretty good swings up there in San Francisco. This time got a hold of one against one of the better pitchers in baseball, drives that out to right center field. His first career as an Angel. David Freese has been crushing the ball this entire season. Pitch out over the plate. He's got very good numbers against Paxton in his career, leading the team with RBIs because he's using the entire field. But you mentioned about the runs scored from this year as compared to last year. First in baseball as far as average runs per game. Nearly 5 last year. This year under 4. The consistency with the batting average not there. But when you see swings like that late in the game, we've seen that a couple times now where you get the better balance in the lineup. That's all of a sudden makes you feel better that they're going to score more runs. You have the tough task against Paxton tonight, but you have guys in there that can square up the baseball and hopefully score some runs for Garrett Richards.
Yeah, last night we had a terrific pitching matchup. We have another one today. James Paxton, as Gooby just mentioned, the left-hander going for Seattle. Good numbers against the Angels, while the Halos will counter with Garrett Richards looking for win number 3. We're just about ready for baseball here at the Big A. Sit back and relax. We're going to bring you the lineups in the first pitch, maybe even a margarita when we return. Angels. USC, beyond exceptional medicine, and by your Southern California Toyota dealers. Welcome back out to the Big A on Cinco de Mayo. They're hoping to set a Guinness World Record. I guess most people wearing a sombrero at one time. Usually happens, what, in about the 6th or 7th inning or thereabouts?
Yeah.
So we will see if we can add that to the wall of honor here at the Big A.
I cannot wait.
I'm sure you can.
Oh.
I know I can. Garrett Richards and the Angels taking the field, and we will give you Lloyd McClennan's starting lineup for the Seattle Mariners. They won Game 1 last night by the final of 3-2. 5 solo home runs hit combined in yesterday's ball game. Seth Smith will lead things off. He is a DH. Justin Ruggiano back in center field. Robinson Cano at second. Nelson Cruz hit his 14th last night. He's in right. Kyle Seager at third. Logan Morrison at first. Mike Zunino, the catcher. Dustin Ackley at left, and it's Chris Taylor batting ninth and playing shortstop. Taking on Garrett Richards, 2-1, and an even 3 ERA. Now, the last time out was against the Oakland Athletics, and the numbers look very, very good. He, I bet, probably not very happy with his fastball command because he struggled with the command. The breaking balls were unbelievable. The fastball was giving him problems, but he still threw the ball well.
He told me that exact same thing. It's just back in that command and feel for his fastball and his go-to, that low strike zone success with his fastball, especially with that, and it sets up his slider and continue, as that conversation we just talked about, refine his mechanics. He said he's getting extremely close. He felt his stuff was there. The feel for his fastball wasn't quite there yet. That game, the game before it was, looking for that consistency.
Let's take a look at the defense for the Halos behind Richards. Colin Calgill gets a start in left, Mike Trout in center. Cole Calhoun in right. The infield has David Freese and Eric Ibar on the left side. Johnny Giavatello and Albert Pujols on the right. But Carlos Perez making his major league debut tonight. He is behind the plate.
Yeah, getting an opportunity. You mentioned that major league debut, faced in catching a very good pitcher with a lot of movement. Saw him a lot of times in spring training. Very good quick release he has and frames the ball exceptionally well. Very solid defensive catcher for the Halos here tonight. Yeah, but that we saw that with Butera got his first start at a catch Richards that game in Houston. It's not easy to catch Garrett Richards with the movement he has on his fastball, especially when it's coming in at 94 to 97.
Seth Smith ready to lead things off here. Garrett in that start against Oakland picked up the win, gave up a run on 4 hits, 6 innings of work, walked 3, had 5 strikeouts. First one tonight is upstairs for ball 1. Season high 103 pitches for Garrett in that start against Oakland. Seth Smith, one of the 5 solo shots hit last night, his second of the season. 1 for 4 game. Seattle managed 4 hits, the Angels 8. .274 batting average for Smith. Couple of home runs, 7 runs batted in. Lifts this one out toward left, not very deep. Long run for Calgill into foul territory. 1 out. It's just exactly not into foul territory, but that's how the game started last night with Smith hitting a fly ball to Joyce.
Yeah, did a good movement on his fastball early on, which is a good sign for Richards. Routine fly ball to Calgill. That fastball velocity getting close to what we saw last season on a consistent basis. Last year averaged 96.3 miles per hour. Garrett Richards on his fastball. This year so far, a little over 95.
I was just going to say, that has not even been an issue. Even from the first game out, where you say, all right, he's going to have to work up to a certain point and then get a certain amount of innings. Then you'll see the velo jump, but that hasn't even been a question for him.
That's truly amazing. Because usually, like you mentioned, you have to build that arm strength up. He had some games in spring training, pitched a simulated game there a couple different times, but also got up to 100 pitch mark in a AAA game. But still, his velocity has been outstanding.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Justin Ruggiano, the second baseman. The center fielder batting second. Getting playing time at center with Austin Jackson on the disabled list. Just a 194 batting average. A couple of doubles with breaking ball. And Garrett thought he had himself a punch out. Looked like it got the bottom part of the zone.
That was a good pitch. Breaking ball. It's not where the catcher catches the baseball, where it crosses the plate.
Swing and a miss. Down goes Ruggiano. 2 down.
Well, that's nasty. let's take a look at our T-Mobile game changer, Garrett Richards. Talk about how well he has pitched over the last year or so. Winning percentage 750, which is third best in the American League. ERA 2.65, and the WHIP. That's something you really want to look at as far as hits and walks per inning pitched. 1.06 for G-Rich.
18 total innings so far this year, 12 hits, 14 strikeouts, 10 walks. Facing Robinson Cano, bouncing this one up the middle, and it's a 2-out single for Cano. Jumping on that first pitch. And it'll give Nelson Cruz an opportunity to bat here with a man on.
Now, if there's one thing where Garrett Richards, and he's talked about it with me before, when he wants to improve in his game, is that's fielding his position. Because sometimes when he lands, he's not landing in perfect fielding position, although his mechanics are a little bit different this year. He's landing more smoothly. That ground ball, normally you would see him make that play. Just got by him by Robinson Cano.
How much of that is just a mental thing, meaning he's focused on the pitch and location almost too long after delivering the pitch and then flipping the switch to becoming a defender?
Yeah, I think some people, some pitchers, I mean, Kevin Apier, who pitched for the Royals and for the Angels, was a good pitcher. But once he released the baseball, he felt he did his job, and he wasn't really focused necessarily on fielding his position. You know, guys like Zach Greinke, as soon as he threw the baseball, he felt that he was one of the fifth infielders at that point. It's all about comfort.
0-2 count on Richards.
But during the course of the season, there's a couple plays or two where if you make that play, that's the difference between winning a ball game at times.
Changes the game sometimes.
And he'll get there. I mean, how hard he worked to get back to this point is truly amazing as it is.
0-2 count, defensive swing.
And see, this ground ball, normally when he's landing, he feels he made a good pitch. And a ground ball, and Cano's jammed and didn't quite get himself in position. A lot of times you're able to move your body, especially when you're a pitcher, anything to the glove side, you feel real comfortable fielding. Now you have to go backhand. You have to be really quick to make a play on the backhand.
Especially the way he spins off toward first base. An overthrown breaking ball, nothing Perez could do. So Cano will advance on the wild pitch. The ball hopped out in front of the plate by a couple of feet.
That's when you really overthrow a slider in the dirt to make sure you don't make a mistake with it. And he's got the slider grip to snap that pitch off. The way out in front, and Perez did a pretty good job of getting his body in front, but when the spin of a slider in the dirt is so much different than a fastball. The fastball will go straight and true. Slider will spin when it hits the dirt and off your body as a catcher.
One ball, two strikes with 2 outs, and Cruz lifts one out to right. Cole back a step, now comes in. We'll head to the bottom of the first inning, scoreless with Calhoun, Trout, and Pujols coming up for the Angels. Starting lineup for the Halos at 11 and 15, having lost 4 straight. Tied with Seattle 7 back in the Houston Astros. Houston trailing tonight against the Texas Rangers. Cole Calhoun back in the leadoff spot after serving in that cleanup spot for several games. He'll lead things off and play right. Mike Trout at center. Albert Pujols at first. David Freese, the cleanup hitter, at third. Eric Gaibor at short. Johnny Giavotella at second. C.J. Cron, the DH. Carlos Perez making his major league debut tonight. He'll be at 8th. Colin Cowgill rounding out that starting 9. Patrolling left field. Taking on the 26-year-old left-hander, native of Ladner, British Columbia, Canada. His name is James Paxton.
Paxton has a good fastball straight over the top, 91, 95. Also throw a cut fastball, curveball, changeup. But the keys against him, look out over the plate. There's a lot of fastballs and breaking balls and changeups out over the plate. Drive the ball the other way. And don't expand on his curveball. He likes to bounce that curveball for a swing and miss pitch, lay off it.
Second time the Angels have faced Paxton this year. He went 6 innings back on April the 7th, giving up 2 runs on 4 hits. This one flying right back up the middle, a leadoff single for Cole Calhoun.
Oh, he's liking being back at that leadoff spot.
Defensively for Seattle, it's Ackley, Ruggiano, and Cruz from left to right. Seager, Taylor, Cano, and Morrison in the infield from third to first, and a very good defensive catcher, Mike Zunino, behind the plate.
Nelson Cruz out in right field. Been very solid throughout his career in that position. He has committed 2 errors in his career and 50 starts here at Angel Stadium. Also has 28 career outfield assists as a right fielder.
Trout hitting .315, 6 home runs, 15 runs batted in. 1 for 4 game yesterday. Hacking at that first pitch fastball. And it is no balls and a strike. Paxton in that start against the Halos up at Safeco. 5 strikeouts, 1 walk. In his career against the Angels, he's made 5 starts, 2-2, and a 2.67 ERA. This one's out toward right field. Cruz broke in, now back a couple of steps. 1 down.
Hyundai key for this game for the Angels to be successful. A little tool right into. Bottom line, especially with a lot of pitches away, you have to use right field to right center field the approach against Paxton. And also David Freese, that's one of his favorite band's tool, but he's had great success. 2 career home runs against Paxton. He's on deck.
What'd you call me?
Victor.
Albert hitting .225, 4 home runs, 10 runs batted in. Had a 2 for 4 game yesterday with a couple of singles. Cano playing Albert toward the middle. Paxton will check in on Cole Calhoun. As good as Paxton has been against the Angels, he had a couple of games in which he blew up right after that start. Faced the Dodgers, gave up 5 earned runs. Then faced the Rangers at home, gave up 7 runs in 2 2/3 innings. His last 2 starts a little bit better for him. First one down and in.
One thing against Paxton, if you're a base runner and you guess right, you're going to be successful. That's a long throwing motion. Does not have a career pickoff yet. 2 stolen base in 2 attempts this year. 7 stolen base in 9 attempts last year. Pretty good sized lead for Calhoun.
Down in the dirt. Dug out by Zunino. And it's 2 balls and no strikes. Three balls and no strikes.
Green light special here for Albert.
That is hammered out to deep left. Forget about it. Going a big fly for Albert Pujols, 525th of his career, and the Halos have a 2-0 lead.
That is exactly what you do when you get the green light on a 3-0 pitch. Boy, did he crush that one. He got a pitch right down the heart of the plate, and Albert squared it up. and out of the ballpark. Number 5 on the season for Pujols.
Freese looks at a fastball for a strike. 2-0 Halos, courtesy of Albert's 5th of the year. Now 12 runs batted in. Make that an 8-game hitting streak for Albert now. That is hit well out to left field, but right to Ackley. 2 outs.
Well, he squares that one out very well. More of a top spin on there, though, from Freese, but squared up. Well, there's something about that. If you're a hitter, you've had success against a pitcher, no matter how good his stuff is. And Paxton has outstanding stuff on the mound. But you just feel comfortable and you're confident. It's all about hitting. It's confidence. If you feel comfortable against a pitcher, you're going to have some good swings.
Ibar lifts one out to shallow right field. Nelson Cruz comes racing in, and he'll make the running catch. And the Halos are down here in the first, but they strike first. Albert Pujols, 18th all-time. Now with 525 in his career. After one, Halos lead at 2-0. .534 career home runs. Jimmy Fox, 17 all time. Then, of course, Mickey Mantle and Michael Jack Schmidt. Here in the second, Seager, Morrison, Zunino for Seattle. Carried 1 hit, 1 strikeout in the first inning. Seager hitting .245 with a couple of home runs, 12 runs batted in. Good numbers in his career against Garrett. 6 for 19 as that pitch misses down and in.
Well, that looks like a slider. It moved that much. His 4-seam fastball at 95. It's the way you get the hitter to move his feet. A little 4-seam fastball with movement. When he's not comfortable at the plate, especially a guy that's had success against you.
One and two. Right back at it, too.
I wonder at some point when he gets a feel for his 2-seamer, that'd be a perfect time to throw it. That's a great angle. You can see the movement that Richards had. Imagine being a hitter back there. You're trying to deal with 95, 97. You don't know if it's going to cut in on me or it's going to go run down and away against me.
Yeah, you just got back-to-back pitches down and in, and all of a sudden you see that running away at 97. There he goes down swinging on a breaking ball, 1 out.
And then you got to deal with an 88-mile-an-hour slider. It's one of the hardest sliders I've seen in a long time. Great job of staying on top of this pitch, straight down with tight rotation. Great location.
Logan Morrison homered last night, his 4th of the year. 222 average, 7 RBIs. Ahead of the count of 2 balls and no strikes. Rolled foul. 2 balls and a strike. Morrison coming over to Seattle prior to last season in exchange for Carter Capps, the reliever. He of the now modified mechanics. If you get a chance, and I'm sure it's on there somewhere at MLB or on YouTube, but look up Marlins Carter Capps delivery in a game against the Atlanta Braves. Joe Simpson did a terrific job of breaking it down. It's a strike, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Capps basically delivering the baseball, was leaving his hand near the cut of the grass around the mound. It was just an incredible leap forward. Remember Jordan Walden, his little hop? This thing made that look like a little brother.
Exactly.
A little roller, and that's off of Morrison. It's a foul ball, so the count will remain at 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, especially when you throw as hard as he does. And as a hitter, by the time he released the baseball, it was about 50 feet away, and you have to try to react at 96, 97.
Morrison, a 22nd round pick in 05 by the Marlins. Grew up in the Kansas City area, went to Maple Woods Community College, the same JUCO that Albert Pujols attended. Down and in. Full count now. It's Mike Zunino on deck. Two strikeouts and a single. 2-0 Halos here in the second. Albert Pujols with a home run, his 5th of the year. This one pulled down the line. That'll go for extra bases. Into the corner she goes. Calhoun will play it cleanly. Morrison will stop at second with his 2nd double of the season.
That slider a little bit flatter over the middle of the plate, but down, and Morrison with his 2nd double drives that one right down the line. Had a pretty good at bat, really, overall against Richards there. Had been 0 for 5 in his career.
Zunino, the catcher, a 139 average with 3 home runs, 5 runs batted in. 0 for 2 last time with a strikeout and a hit by pitch. Seattle had 1 opportunity last night. The man in scoring position went 0 for 1. They, like the Angels, have struggled in those situations. Just a 221 batting average for Lloyd McClendon's Mariners. The Angels at 233. Second time tonight they've had a man in scoring position. Bouncer foul, 1 ball, 1 strike.
That's that good sink action on his fastball from Richards. 2-seamer. Still believe with his fastball, especially his cut fastball away, that should be a perfect pitch against Zunino and finish him off with his hard slider. Boy, nice pitch on the inside part of the plate, just missed.
2 balls and a strike. Greg Gibson calling the balls and strikes tonight. Marvin Hudson at first, Chad Fairchild at second, and the crew chief Jim Joyce at third. Boy, that locked him up.
That's that one he's been able to throw over the last couple of seasons. We showed that in our T-Mobile Game Changer how well he has adjusted over the last year or so. It's because of his ability to throw his slider for strikes.
Inside. Full count now. Back-to-back hitters. 3-2 count. Better command tonight of the fastball. Ackley on deck. 3-2, fouled off to the right.
This location on that fastball. Perez wanted that fastball outside. That fastball ran in and almost off the plate.
Line to center field, a base hit. Being waved in as Morrison. The throw from Trout is not in time. RBI single for Mike Zunino, and it's a 2-1 Angels lead. Zunino picking up his 6th run batted in.
Nice job of Zunino to shorten up his swing, and Trout charged that well. Pretty good throw to the plate. Boy, back in the day when the catcher could block the plate, it was probably going to be out, but because you got to give him that clear path to slide in and get the plate, was he able to avoid the tag with the foot in before the tag was applied?
So Seattle gets one of the runs back, and here's Ackley, the left fielder, hitting 190. We'll take downstairs. Ackley last night 0 for 3. Two doubles, 3 home runs, and 3 RBIs for Ackley.
Marcy getting taped up his ankle. He wanted to slide at the plate.
Two balls and 1 strike. Zunino at second base, representing the tying run. Down low. Ackley, the 2nd overall selection in 2009. University of North Carolina. This one's popped up on the third base side. Freeze backpedaling out. Ibar moving over. Ibar takes charge, 2 outs. Hey folks, the Halos take on the Astros on Friday at 7:05, and the first 20,000 adults in attendance will receive a Mother's Day tote courtesy of Farmer John. Purchase tickets today at the Angels Stadium ticket office or online at angels.com. 2 outs, a man on, and it's Chris Taylor coming to the plate. Taylor played his first big league game of the season last night, went 0 for 3. Called up before the game. He will take downstairs. Seems like Taylor's going to be pretty much the everyday shortstop. Prior to yesterday's game, Lloyd McClendon declining to comment essentially on Brad Miller and what he and his role would be moving forward. Today, McClendon saying that He wants Miller to be more of a Ben Zobrist type of player, platooning around and shifting around different positions. So that means Taylor's going to get the bulk of the opportunities at shortstop.
But an opportunity to play at the major league level, play a lot of different positions. Ben Zobrist is an all-star because he can play all those positions and play them well.
Two balls and no strikes.
One thing you got to keep in mind with Carlos Perez making his debut here and Garrett Richards, with that movement, he's caught him a couple times in spring training, but not a lot. He's not necessarily familiar with the movement he has, especially now that he's healthy and ready to go and challenge hitters. So a couple of these pitches have been pretty close to the strike zone. I'm kind of surprised going inside against Zunino a couple times in that at bat, knowing that Zunino is very quick inside instead of going away against him. He'll work this thing out, though.
Popped up, first base shot into foul territory. Pujols and Perez. Albert taking charge, inning over. Seattle gets one of the runs back on the Zunino RBI single ahead of the bottom of the second. Angels leading it.
Got the big news from around the majors on the Carl's Jr. Sports Update. A certain team in the AL Central is hot. Somebody you might not know of. And the Nationals trying to get closer to the 500 mark after struggling early on mightily.
Halos up 2-1 here, the bottom of the second. Giavotella, Cron, and Perez to face James Paxton. 0-1 count on Johnny, hitting .286 with a home run and 10 runs batted in. 1-for-4 game yesterday. Also hit a couple of balls on the screw right at guys. Ground ball to short on line at third. This one's fouled back. 0-2 count. Breaking ball in the dirt.
And it's that good breaking ball he has. You just have to try to make him throw for a strike.
Does not waste any time. He stays right on that mound. Gets it and goes. Popped up. Foul territory. Morrison moving over. I don't think Zunino saw it. One down.
He was just running to an area at that point, hoping to be called off.
You got to be careful running to that area if you don't see it.
Yeah.
Because you could be running right into the area and actually get hit by it. Morrison Taking charge, however. Crow takes that fastball up and in. This one's out to right. Jammed him. 2 outs.
He's got real good life in his fastball tonight. We have 2 very good young pitchers in this game. Richards, Paxton. It's good movement. And attack hitters both inside and away.
There's Carlos Perez. Major League debut tonight. 17 games at AAA. This one's the first pitch. Fouls it right back, hitting .361 at AAA with 12 RBIs.
Tell you what, against Paxton tonight, the hitters are extremely aggressive tonight.
Perez, 24 years of age, native of Venezuela.
Boy, Paxton has such a free and easy delivery.
This is sharply hit, and it's a base hit. First big league hit. It's cut off by Ruggiano, and Carlos Perez, first big league at bat, delivers a single.
Didn't waste any time. The baseball will work its way into the dugout, and I'm sure at some point somebody will pretend to throw that ball into the stands. Eric Ibar. There we go.
That was subtle, Eric. Seriously, I don't think anybody had any idea of what you were doing there. That's like finding how to do magic on YouTube. The tutorial. It's Colin Cowgill hitting 184.
Carlos is going, okay, yeah, all right, I get it. I get it.
No, not my baseball. Please
No,
don't throw it into the stands. 2 balls, no strikes. Cowgill getting the start in left field, batting in the 9th spot. A couple of doubles, a home run, 2 runs batted in. .3-0 count. Just off the plate. So a 2-out single followed by a 4-pitch walk, and it spins the lineup around, and Cole will bat here with 2 on and 2 outs.
When the Angels are swinging the bat well, they are very good as far as getting those 2-out hits, especially after, a single with 2 outs and followed by a walk. Last year we saw that. We showed those numbers in our opening as far as runs per game last year, 4.8 runs per game. A lot of times it came with 2 outs when you thought the inning was over. Some good quality at bats after those 2 outs were made.
So that's 5 out of the zone now for Paxton. Cole 1 for 1 with a base hit to center. And now Zunino's going to go out and talk things over. They got ahead at 2 strikes on Perez, tried to throw a fastball up. Carlos got on top of that ball and jumped it into center field for a base hit, and Paxton's been off mark here since then.
It's almost as if he's trying to be fine with some of his pitch, especially the aggressive approach. He's seen the Angel hitters really be jumping on that first pitch fastball. Now he's trying to be more fine than we normally would see from him. And Carlos Perez has had a very good compact swing against Paxton. Just stayed back well, just used the middle part of the field. It was an elevated pitch, went right back up the middle, then try to pull it. Real good numbers he had down in AAA. He had .361 with 12 RBI.
2 balls and a strike. Chopper right back to the mound. Went back to the breaking ball. And that'll do it for the Halos. 2 complete here at the Big A. The Angels lead it 2-1. We walk into our broadcast booth and to our new backdrop. I hope you like this, the blue and of course, the Big A. We finally got rid of the old one.
It's nice.
Maybe this will change the mojo for the Angels. They're they're going to attempt another world record here tonight. I saw the Guinness guy. He's got an official jacket with the Guinness crest on the jacket.
Oh, that's perfect.
Maybe one of these days we can get one of those jackets to do our open in every single day.
That would
with
be
the Big A.
That would be a record.
We could travel with it.
Yes.
Go through the airports. It's a good look.
That would be a great look.
Let's not do that. Let's not suggest that. You saw the sombreros throughout this ballpark. And we've set a lot of records, yet we've never seen a certificate. You all right there? Taking
yeah.
that thing
I'm
off?
just gonna stick around
sure?
with this.
Yeah, stick it on.
It'll be part of this all day.
Top of the order for Seattle. Seth Smith gets jammed. Hits one out to shallow right center field. Long run for everybody. Cole comes in and makes the basket catch for the first down.
Just cruising in. Another great play by Cole. Remember that play he made in San Francisco. Where's Cole? Oh, here comes Cole. No problem. Gathered in that body with the glove. Just jog a little bit after that. He wasn't even in the picture. Came in and made a nice play. Big out there to start off this inning.
Virgiano takes a breaking ball upstairs. Virgiano, strikeout victim of the first. One of 2 punch outs for Richards. No walks, 3 hits allowed. That's the 3rd foul ball hit into the same area in the club seats. Just to our right. Lucky spot tonight.
Yeah. That's nasty.
Yep.
That late movement, 4-seam fastball.
Overthrew the breaking ball there, and it's a full count. Third full count already for Garrett. 48 pitches. One out here in the third. In the air on the first base side, headed to the seats behind the dugout. I'm not so sure I'd use that sombrero to catch a foul ball.
No.
That might leave a mark.
Yeah, you might want to use your hand.
Which would also leave a mark.
Leave a mark.
Yeah.
It's all about the effort, though.
Yeah. Robinson, Cano on deck. One out. Nobody on. And he walked him. First walk of the game will bring up Cano. And the Sunday, the Angels will take on the Astros at 12:35. The first 20,000 adults in attendance will receive a Mother's Day scarf, courtesy of Farmer John. Purchase tickets at the Angels Stadium ticket office or online at angels.com. Do we have one of those scarves to go with that sombrero for you?
I need that.
Do you?
Yes.
Would be a good look.
I might have to bring that on the road.
The scarf?
Yes. Back east, they would love that.
Yeah. Cano with the base hit his first time up. Looks at a strike.
Boy, a lot of pitches thrown already for Garrett in this game. 51. Going into the third inning.
And not necessarily finishing guys. He's fallen behind at 2-0-2-1. He's gotten back into counts, but then he's taken it to a full count. 3 separate occasions. Outside.
He certainly has had a lot of movement on his fastball. So in a couple of good sliders, but hasn't had the feel for a slider like he did last game. This game, a little bit better feel for his fastball.
Chopper right side. Giavotella has it. His only plays to first. 2 outs. Ruggiano advances into scoring position.
Got that fastball inside against Cano. You know you have a good fastball if you can jam Robinson Cano, because he's usually pretty quick inside.
Nelson Cruz 0 for 1 and a fly ball to right field. Boy, nice slider on the outside part of the plate for a strike. Swing and a miss. The ball gets by Perez. Advancing to third is Ruggiano.
It's 2 wild pitches already in the game for Garrett. Overthrown slider. Again, not real familiar with the pitcher. And reading that spin on the dirt from a hard slider, it's not an easy thing to do. 22 wild pitches last year for Richards.
0-2 pitch. Trying to get him to chase.
Boy, 89-mile-an-hour slider, 80, 89. You got to remember back in the day, J.R. Richards had that hard, tight slider. He threw his slider around 90, 92 range. One of the best sliders the game has ever seen. It's from the right side.
Down and away.
More of a conversation Garrett's trying to have with himself as far as slowing down his delivery.
Working from the stretch with a man at third. 2-2 now. A little flare out towards center. Jammed him again. And The Mariners are done here in the third. We'll head to the bottom of the third inning. Trout, Pujols, and Freese coming up 2-1. Rivalries beginning with the Royals taking on the Tigers and the Braves squaring off against the Nationals. Coverage begins at 9:30 a.m. on your home for baseball every Saturday. Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go.
See that conversation with Mike Butcher, Garrett Richards, and Carlos Perez as far as trying to slow himself down, understanding the break on the slider, and really pitch sequence also. If you're a catcher, that's a difficult task. Your first start at the major league level, you already have the butterflies going. Then you have to deal with the movement and velocity of all the pitches from Garrett Richards.
This one lined to right field. Cruz breaks hit, now goes back and makes the catch for the first out. That being said, though, certainly nothing like Drew Butera catching Garrett in that first start in the season. I'm sure he caught him a couple times at in camp while he was rehabbing and the like. Carlos looks very comfortable. He doesn't look like he's stabbing at pitching or overwhelmed with movement.
Especially, well, they can catch him in spring training all they want, but that adrenaline in the major league games a little bit different. He definitely looks solid behind there. Very, very comfortable. His hands real good. First at back, it's a base hit.
Albert homered his first time up, looks at an off-speed pitch for a strike. So it's 0-2. Fifth home run of the season for Pujols. 12 RBIs now.
Albert is 3 for 15 against Paxton, but 2 of those 3 hits home runs.
This one pulled down the line. Seager's got it to the backhand. 2 outs.
Playing right on the line almost for Seager. Strong throwing arm. Albert got down the line pretty good there. Looked pretty comfortable. Hamstring issue seems to be going away.
Freese lined out to Ackley in left field in the first inning, and he will take down an in. David came in batting .220 on the year. 5 home runs, 19 runs batted in. Team leader in RBIs. Second in home runs, now tied with Pujols. Good numbers in his career against Paxton. 2-1.
Well, that pitch before, a changeup, ran inside. Well, you can see the reaction when David Freese stepped out. He knew he had a pitch there to crush. Paxton came back now with another fastball, but this time down and in. That was much better as far as location of a changeup from Paxton there against Freese.
Breaking ball got him looking. Halos go down in order. Paxton picks up his first strikeout. 3 in the books. Halos lead it 2-1. Two-run home run in the first inning. Seattle got one of the runs back in the second on the Zunino base hit up the middle. That scored Logan Morrison. Those two guys will bat here the fourth, facing Garrett Richards. Seager, followed by Morrison, and Zunino will step to the plate. 58 pitches for Garrett. 33 so far have been strikes. 2 punch outs and 1 walk. 3 hits allowed. 2 singles and a double. Seager, a strikeout victim, leading off the second.
He's been running a lot of fastballs in against Seager.
Jammed him out to shallow left. Calgill comes in. 1 out.
And yet another fastball in against Seager. Both pitches inside corner. That one up and in. .60 pitches thrown for Richards so far. 35 of them strikes. A lot of movement on his pitches tonight, which is a good sign, but sometimes more difficult to be able to keep those pitches in the strike zone with that type of movement. That was almost a non-committed swing by Morrison on that cut fastball at 97.
Well, he was initially committed.
Yeah.
And then as the ball got halfway there, it's like,
no,
I got no chance.
That's going to shatter my bat. And I've been swinging the bat well in the month of May. 6 for 15 for Morrison in the month of May. Decided to make sure he kept the bat.
He doubled down the right field line, his second of the season. Eventually scored on a base hit.
Yeah, if you're a hitter, you swing at that pitch, you make contact on the bat, that's going to shatter to the bat.
That's driven out to the alley in right center field. Trout pulls up. That is off the wall. Morrison on his way to second, hustling in there with his second double.
Boy, has he been hot. Mentioned he was 6 for 15, now 7 for 16. With 3 home runs and a couple of doubles. Fastball, hard of the plate, was down. He crushed that ball to center field.
Donato fouls back that fastball. Pitch is elevated a little bit.
He has a real tough time with anything down and away. Fastballs or sliders. Elevated fastballs, no matter how hard you're throwing, he makes a good pass at it.
The RBI that he picked up in the second, his 6th of the season. Fouled off to the right. 0-2 count. Boy, again in that same section. The club level seats. Glance back to Morrison. Breaking ball. Down to reach for it. That wasn't that hard breaking ball.
That was his curveball.
Yeah, a little get it over, it looked like.
More of a 12-6 break at 78 miles an hour. Now you have him set up for that hard slider down and away. Now you have to have trust in Carlos Perez to keep that baseball in front of him.
Breaking ball, defensive swing. Giavotella has it. 2 outs. Morrison to third.
One thing I've noticed in this game from Garrett with his slider today, it's more of a straight down. When he's really locked in with that slider, he's going to have that little bit of a tilt to it. It's going to go away. This is more straight down, almost the same type of break as his curveball. Curveball at 78, his slider at 88 and 89, but similar break to it.
Ackley 0 for 1 as he popped out to Ibar's first time up. Boy, just going to say, Perez has to bear down here with a man at third base. That thing
might got a little help.
Play.
I wonder if I got Gibson too, home plate umpire.
Well, left shoulder.
That's enough of the body to keep it in front of him. On that bicep forearm, left forearm.
Ackley bounces this one to Albert, waves off Garrett, and the Mariners lead the tying run at third base. To the bottom of the 4th we go. 2-1 Halos. Angels baseball is brought to you by the 2015 Jeep Cherokee with an EPA estimate 31 highway miles per gallon. Visit Jeep.com for more information. And by AT&T Uverse. More live TV channels on the go than cable. Halos up 2-1 as we start the bottom of the fourth on Cinco de Mayo. Celebrating here to the ballpark. Set a world record. Well, we hope soon. Don't want to burst anybody's bubble here. We'll see what happens. Ibar, Giavatelli, and Crone. Eric looks at a strike. 0 for 1. He's hit a fly ball to right field to end the first.
Not a bad idea to make Paxton field his position. Last year committed 3 errors.
Chopper off the plate. Seager will let it bounce, and it goes foul.
That's about the only baseball that will go foul here. Slow roller down either line will roll back into fair territory.
Ibar back to the batter's box, I should say. In the hole here at 0-2. Eric from the right side, 5 for 18 coming to this one. 278 batting average, 203 from the left side. And it's a breaking ball. Down he goes. And it's the first out here, the fourth. Second strikeout for Paxton.
And Paxton's starting to get locked in, getting a better feel for his breaking ball now.
And it goes back to, remember back in the second inning, retired the first 2 guys. Perez got a 2-strike base hit. Calgill walked. Calhoun got ahead of the count at 2-0. Then it went to 2-1. Then that 2-2 breaking ball. And Cole to bounce one back to the mound. And from that point forward, he's retired 5 in a row.
Yeah, better feel. I mean, he's always right on top of that pitching rubber. Does not waste time. In Seattle, just looking for some consistency from the rotation, other than King Felix. He's throwing the ball unbelievable this season.
2 balls and a strike on Johnny. 0 for 1 as he popped out. Felix picked up his 5th win last night. 5-0 now.
And the other starters is 3-8 with an ERA over 5.5.
Mentioned Paxton a little bit better. Taijuan Walker has been knocked around a couple of times this year. Iwakuma's on the disabled list.
And I saw Walker a couple times in spring training. I thought he was just going to dominate this year, and he still has that opportunity to do so. But he has struggled this year. Once the season started,
full count. Handles will face the Cuban lefty Roenis Elias tomorrow. C.J. Wilson will be on the mound for the Angels. Payoff pitch. And that is ball 4. Second free pass issued by the lefty. It'll put a man on with 1 out and Crone coming up.
Crone at the plate last night when Calgill was thrown out trying to steal. But one thing Mike Socha has done, though, lately with C.J. Crone, he has put a hit and run on. Very difficult to do so generally with the left-handed pitcher, but Paxton doesn't have a real good move.
C.J. got jammed and hit a fly ball to right field in the second inning, so he's 0 for 1. Mariners 4 hits, the Angels with 3. Lays off. They can track that pretty well. 50 pitches for Paxton. 30 strikes, 20 balls.
CJ 2 for 7 in his career versus Paxton coming into the game tonight.
And he skies one out to deep left field. Ackley back at the wall and leaps up, and he got it. What a play by Dustin Ackley. Giavotella hustles back to first base, and they avoid the double play, but Ackley at the wall timed his leap perfectly.
A former second baseman playing left field. Right back towards that 390 sign, times his leap. Very good play by Ackley. And gets it in quickly. Never took his eye off the baseball. No, he's getting close to the wall, especially when you run on that warning track. I don't know if that gets out, but it's certainly going to be off the wall, and it's going to go away from him pretty quickly when you get back to the wall like that.
Old school, right in the palm. Forget the webbing.
Yeah, that way you can secure it when you know you're going to make contact with the wall. Again, that's a pretty good play for a guy that was initially a second baseman.
Right. So 2 outs. Carlos Perez at the plate.
Pretty good job by Giavotella to get back. He was around second base, had to go back and tag the base and then go back to first base.
Now, once you make contact with the base as a base runner, you have to retouch that bag as Perez lays off, and it's 2 balls, no strikes. First big league at bat for Perez in the second, a single into center. Chopper to short. Taylor gets around it, off balance throw. Halos are done here in the 4th. We'll head to the 5th here at the Big A. 2-1 Angels.
Worn here at the stadium. They have to hold with wear these for 5 minutes to break the record.
5 minutes. 5 whole minutes.
Yes. Ready. This is another record.
How's this? That's a good look.
That's a great look for you.
Orale! Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Yes, indeed.
Margaritas on the rocks?
On the rocks.
Frozen,
for sure.
or?
On the rocks.
Supremely comfortable. And the top of the 5th inning.
We really needed those wrestling masks. That would have been perfect.
You know what we need? Some chips and guacamole.
Yes. Just put it around the hat.
Right around the hat.
Perfect.
Garrett Richards facing 9-1-2. Taylor hits one out toward right center field. Not very deep. Cole comes racing in. And he'll make the catch for the first out.
Cole certainly getting his wind sprints in today. One nice plays on shallow fly balls to right center field.
One out, top of the order now, Seth Smith. You know, I think if we were on the Bugs Bunny cartoon, I might be Speedy Gonzalez. And you would be his cousin Slowpoke. But that's just me. Smith hits one out to right. Cole moving back on it. And on the track, will make the catch just shy of the Safari Park sign in right field. 2 outs. No, you're not feeling it?
It's a good look for us, though.
Slowpoke?
Yes.
My cousin is speedy. Don't you remember Slowpoke Gonzalez? He was awesome, man.
What? Best. At this point, I'm just breathless. Waiting to break another record.
Breathless?
Yes.
You're breathless. I don't know that I'm breathless.
Hey, it's a world record.
Man, this is.
What are you thinking of?
That's a tired look right there.
No, you never look better. Trust me.
There's no itch to these sombreros either. One. Foul back. Oh! Just to our right. One ball, 2 strikes. Garrett looking for his first 1-2-3 inning. Breaking ball. Evens up the count.
Especially with Cano on deck, that's the perfect time to have that 1-2-3 inning.
Got just over a minute left in order to set the Guinness World Record. How's your pulse?
Speedy.
Full count. 2 strikeouts, 1 walk for Garrett. 4 hits allowed. Chopper to third. Freeze has it. And a 1-2-3 inning for Garrett Richards. We head to the bottom of the 5th. Halos still on top, 2-1. Go. The Angels crowd has done it yet again. Another world record.
Wow, truly amazing.
Unbelievable. It's crazy. Just oh, another margarita?
Maybe
you want 2? You want to double up? Oh, man. 9-1-2. Facing James Paxton. I think it was the fumes from the sombrero that got us. Blue again. Seager cuts in front of Taylor. Throws out Calgill for the first down here, the 5th. Cole 1 for 2 with a single and a bouncer back to the mound. He's also scored. It was in the first inning. Albert homered. 2-run shot. Breaking ball for a strike. That got Zunino right in the shoulder. Gibson will give him an opportunity. Kind of catch his breath. Never fun.
No. He blocks everything. Tries to block everything. Even in a count where, and with no one on, you wouldn't think that you necessarily have to put yourself in that position.
Upstairs. Two balls, 1 strike. Trout on deck. 2 strikeouts, 2 walks for Paxton. Caught the bottom part of the strike zone. Back toward the middle, a base hit. Cole with a second knock of the ball game.
Not easy to get those type of swings against Paxton for a lefty. Well, lefties a little more success this year against Paxton. Coming in this game 348. Remember, opening day. You know, last year lefties really struggled against them.
Cole came in batting .375 against left-handed pitching. 2 more hits tonight. Trout 0 for 2, a couple of fly balls to right. Two-0 pitch. Went around the breaking ball. Could not hold up.
And Paxton's not going to give in and throw a fastball there to Trout. Trout was anticipating one. Instead got a breaking ball in the dirt. Expanded his strike zone. You'll see that on occasion when it's 2-0.
That ball got Zunino too, right in the left leg. 3-1.
And threw him a changeup, 2-1 changeup.
Yeah, well, I think he may have learned that lesson from that first inning 3-0 fastball he threw to Albert.
Yeah,
turn that thing around.
Don't groove one, even though you have a good fastball. It's a big at bat right here for Trout and the Angels to try to expand the lead.
Cole over at first base. Good lead for him. 3-1. A little bit late on that fastball. Full count.
The reason why I was late is because the pitch before was a changeup. The difference in speed. Changeup the pitch before, 87. That fastball at 96.
That's a called strike 3, and he knew it. Two outs. Let's go back to the first inning. Albert's 5th of the year, 525th of his career.
Got the green light. Similar situation with Cole Calhoun at first base. Albert here, an opportunity again.
That gets through the wickets there. Goes to the backstop. Cole will advance to second and stop right there.
Doesn't happen often to Zunino. Second wild pitch of the season for Paxton. Just didn't get the glove down quick enough to keep that baseball in front of him. He beat up pretty good in this inning, though.
One ball, no strikes. Two and oh. Prior to tonight, the last home run that Albert hit against a left-handed pitcher was July 9th of last year, 64 at-bats ago. Aaron Loop.
That's surprising.
2-0.
What that tells you, they're pitching him away, forcing him to use the big part of the yard, staying away from anything on the inner half. 3-0 count again. They're going to say walk him.
Yeah, they're going to walk him here. Take their chances with Freeze. This will go down as an intentional walk. First intentional walk of the season for Albert. Fifth for the Angels. And quite honestly, until the Angels' other hitters get going, obviously Albert's hit a home run today. I'm surprised more teams haven't done that already, especially with Mike Trout. They're going to face Cole. They'll take their chances with Cole. If Albert gets hot, those two guys, until Freeze gets going, Ibar, and kind of spin the lineup around and kind of pick your poison, you're going to see guys attack or not necessarily attack hitters the way you would normally see it.
That's why we talk about connecting that lineup in our opening today. And so often if you see a pitcher throw that fourth one, that intentional walk out of the strike zone, that very first pitch, because your mechanics are different, because you're used to throwing something near the strike zone, that pitch before to Albert, walking way off the plate, and the first pitch to Freeze off the plate. Now, if you're David Freeze, who has had some good swings against Paxton in his career, just center that one spot of the plate where you could do the most damage.
David's 0 for 2, a fly ball to left and a strikeout looking. That is pulled right to Taylor. He smoked it. Taylor was shading him toward the hole and robs Freeze of a potential hit and an RBI. Bottom of the fifth inning. We're pumped up because we're headed to the sixth and the Angels
Record holders.
Angels baseball is brought to you by Mercury Insurance. On a mission to save you money. Log on to MercuryInsurance.com to get a fast, free quote and see how much you could save. And by Hyundai. Great deals on amazing cars are going on now at your Hyundai dealer. Visit buyhyundai.com today. Seattle has 3, 4, and 5 coming up here at the top of the 6th inning. Angels on top 2-1. Cano, Cruz, and Seager to face Garrett Richards. Coming off his first 1-2-3 inning. 78 pitches so far, 2 strikeouts, 1 walk. First one is outside. Cano 1 for 2 with a single in the first. This one off the seats. 1 ball, 1 strike. Seattle with a run on 4 hits, 4 left on. The Angels 2 runs, 4 hits. They've stranded 5. Freeze slamming the bat down after lining out to Taylor. It's the second time tonight that he squared up a baseball.
He can't hit the baseball any harder than he did.
The pitch down and in. 1-2.
Great location of his slider there. That's a little better tilt on his slider on that one.
Cano shoots one out to the alley in right center field. Base hit. Trout cuts it off. Cano slams on the brakes. Leadoff single, his second hit of the night. It'll bring up Nelson Cruz. Hey folks, this Mother's Day, treat mom to a memorable brunch here at the Big A. On Sunday, you can enjoy a pregame brunch in the Music Garden. Then watch the Halos take on the Stros at 12:35. For more info to purchase tickets, just log on at angels.com/promotions. Promotions. Nelson Cruz 0 for 2. Fly ball to right and fly ball to center. Breaking ball for a strike. No stolen bases for Cano. He's been caught twice.
Great location, that slider.
Oh, 2. Swing and a miss. Down goes Cruz. Third strikeout. Cruz saying the ball was foul tipped, or fouled, I should say, into the ground. But Greg Gibson saved no. Is hung on to by Perez.
It's a sharp slider. And that ball was caught before the ground. Nice job by Carlos. That's 2 excellent sliders he threw the Cruz in that sequence. Almost the exact same spot.
One out, 1 on for Seager. 0 for 2. Strikeout and a fly ball to left. That's a paint job there on the inside part of the plate for a strike. Get a quick double play ball here. An opportunity to come back out for the 7th inning. The breaking ball, disappearing breaking pitch there.
He's starting to get a feel for that now. Fifth 0-2 count in this game for Richards.
Short lead for Cano at first base. That's an overthrown breaking ball that Perez had no chance at.
Especially when you've thrown like But 4 out of the 5 pitches exactly where you wanted your slider. Then he muscled up on that one. This pitch is hit the grass in front of the home plate area. 3 wild pitches in the game for Richards.
It's like a ceremonial first pitch we had here a couple years ago. One-two pitch. Seager puts it foul and out of play. Next pitch will be the 90th thrown by Garrett. Pitch count's gone up because of the some deep counts, 5 3-ball counts tonight. Seager pops it up, shallow right. Giavotella going out. Calhoun racing in, and it's Giavotella making the catch. 2 outs. Good communication.
Yeah, Cole was playing extremely deep. He was coming in quickly, but Giavotella communicated well, like you said, and caught it.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Los Angeles Angels and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Los Angeles Angels. 2 outs. Man in scoring position. It's Logan Morrison coming up and potentially walk him.
He's had some good swings. I don't blame Mike Scioscia for that.
2 for 2 with 2 doubles for Morrison. And I like the approach, not only by Garrett, but any pitcher that comes set and then delivers the pitch firmly.
Yeah, because you keep your arm in that same arm slot. So often you see guys just guide the ball in there, and all of a sudden they're dropping their elbow. Muscle memory brings back that very first pitch when you have a batter in the batter's box the next time around, and it's not going to be where you want to throw it.
Had the Kevin Jepson fade route here that one night.
Always believe just throw it exactly the way you would throw as if you're trying to throw a strike in the strike zone. You're just hitting that spot as the catcher moves away from the plate.
Harder for relievers, especially power relievers, than a starter?
Yeah, I think so, because they're not used to having to do that. It doesn't happen all that much for relievers. Especially the mentality is you're just facing a couple of batters. So that's why you'll see managers sometimes when they're thinking about going to the bullpen, let the starter attempt to walk a guy before they bring the bullpen pitcher in.
So 2 outs and 2 on now. Mike Zunino at the plate. Catcher is 1 for 2. RBI single in the second. Cano at second, Morrison at first. Intentional walk to Morrison, second. Base on balls issued by Richards. And that one hits Zunino. And now they're loaded up. Zunino was hit last night, gets hit tonight. Trying to keep that fastball in on him. Mike Butcher's going to come out and pay a visit.
So not so sure that's where you want to attack Zunino anyhow, is inside. It's a big opportunity now for Garrett to get through this inning. More than likely will be potentially his last inning. Put himself in position to maintain the lead, force it any base now as a defender. And first pitch always so important with the bases loaded.
Ackley's 0 for 2 with a pop-up and a ground out to Pujols. 1 ball, no strikes. No movement in the Angels bullpen. Seattle this year with the bases loaded 3 for 17. That's a 176 batting average. 1-0. 2 balls and no strikes. Cowgill very shallow and left. 3-0.
Not missing by a lot. Second pitch was just below the zone. That one just barely off the inside corner.
Three and one.
I wonder if he's even going to be swinging 3-1. He didn't look like he was going to swing 1-0, 2-0 either.
I'm thinking the same thing in that situation. At the very least, you get the runners moving as a hitter. But he has struggled this year, so maybe he's thinking if he gets that one pitch, he might pull the trigger on it here. 3-1. He's taking
all the way. That was great. Those back-to-back pitches right down the heart of the plate. For Garrett, all the mindset is, I have to throw my very best pitch right here. My 101st pitch of the game.
Probably his last. Get the merry-go-round going. Base runners will take off here. There's a 3-2. Called strike three. Ackley goes down looking, and the Mariners leave him loaded.
What a pitch by Richards. Four-seamer.
When we come back, we'll find out some of the Angels' favorite Avengers characters on the debut of Gooby Tuesdays.
Iron Man, sí, pero está bien. Sí, el Iron Man.
So you can fly. You can fly.
I like Captain America.
Definitely would have to be Iron Man.
Go to the suit or flying?
The suit. I like the suit.
I'm gonna go with Iron Man because he gets around, he can fly around, he got all these sick gadgets. I wanted to say the Hulk, but I mean, you can't beat the whole flying around in the suit, and you got all the super gadgets and all these extra cool pluses, plus the guys controlling your suit, and you get a little talk to them and tell them to help you out. So I go Iron Man.
I like Captain America myself. I mean, he was very nice. My daughter worked at a sushi place in Studio City, and Chris Evans, who is Captain America, was very nice to her. So he is as good as a person as the Iron Man.
Ibar pulls one down the line.
I love Iron Man. Love Captain America. Thor. I love the Avengers. I can't wait to see that movie.
Yeah, you're just an equal opportunity guy.
Yeah, but Captain America's my guy.
Good. Me, I'm just Scarlett Johansson.
Black Widow?
I win. 0-1. Ibar trying to bunt, fouls it back.
So I can't go Captain, oh Captain? No. You just win, right?
They're calling Ibar out for being out of the batter's box. Greg Gibson pointing down. Mike Scioscia coming out to argue.
Let's see if he did. That's the one time he didn't look like he did.
Question is, where is the front foot? That's in the batter's box.
He's in the batter's box.
That's a bad call.
Yeah.
That is a bad call. At the very least, you got to get some help. So they'll call that, but they'll never call a left-handed batter bunting with his foot behind home plate as an out.
Yeah, we've often talked about that, how close it is, especially for Eric. But in that particular point, he was not out of the batter's box.
One ball, no strikes. That goes as a 2 unassisted for the first down here in the 6th inning. Even if the foot is on the line, Giavotella hits one out toward left center field. It's playable for Luciano. 2 outs, but he's going back to that bunt. Even if the foot is on the line, he's still considered in the batter's box. Now, if the foot is outside the batter's box and makes contact with the baseball, then it's an automatic out. That's why I always say, you watch left-handed batters today, and almost to a man, when they're trying to push a bunt or anything, they will take that left foot and it'll be planted behind home plate, yet nobody ever calls that an out.
I was surprised he called him out on that one. He was not out of the batter's box.
Pro lifts one out toward right field. Long run for Nelson Cruz, and he'll get there. Halos go down in order. 6 complete here at the Big A. Angels still on top 2-1. Here's your DraftKings players to watch update, and you guys did a heck of a job of picking them tonight.
Posey 1 for 3.
So got that going.
And he got a run scored. Especially when you think of some of the numbers they had against the pitchers. Very good, solid numbers. Especially Posey. Matt Kemp, too, in that game. Vogelsong has not been throwing the ball well for San Francisco. All of a sudden, San Diego struggling to score runs. And boy, the Giants are red hot right now.
Nine, 1-2 for Seattle here in the 7th inning. Taylor, Smith, and Ruggiano. Fernando Salas getting ready for the Angels. Richards at 101 pitches so far. Taylor, the shortstop, 0 for 2. A pop up to Pujols and a fly ball to right. Good breaking ball. 1-2. Four strikeouts, 2 walks, 1 hit batter. Check swing, he went around.
Great slider.
Gibson doesn't need any help. So Taylor off to an 0 for 6 start this year.
Stayed back well on that slider. You can see the swing crossing the plate. Hitter thinks and sees fastball because it's firm at 87, 88. Then the break out of the strike zone, swing and miss.
Top of the order now, Seth Smith. 3 fly ball outs for the DH. 1 to the left, 2 to right. Heck of a job by Garrett to get the punch out of Ackley on a 3-2 pitch. To end the 6th inning with the bases loaded.
Especially when he was 3-0 to start with in that at bat.
Two balls, no strikes.
He certainly still has good life on his fastball. 95 on pitch number 107.
Three infielders on the right side with Smith at the plate. He fouls this one back. Big rip there.
That's 3 fastballs in a row, all the same speed, 95, and Smith was on that last one.
Homered last night, his 2nd of the year.
I'll throw that nasty slider right now. See if he can get a swing and miss.
Breaks his bat, loops one out to shallow right center field. Ibar moving down, and Ibar makes the over-the-shoulder catch for the 2nd out of the inning.
Well, he jammed him. Came right back with the fastball. This was located well. And because of the shift on, Eric Ibar playing shallow right center field makes the play.
Trout missing the flip there by Ibar. Almost looks like an Eagles receiver. Oh, sorry, too soon.
Wow.
Who's receiving for you guys? Got plenty of running backs. Justin Ruggiano's 0 for 2. Had a walk in the 3rd.
On a record-setting night, you say that.
No balls, 2 strikes. Come on, give him the old Eagles fly to Trouty. Breaking ball toward the middle. Ibar to his left has it.
What a job.
2-3 go the Mariners.
Great effort by Garrett Richards. Gets back out there for the 7th and dominates a 1-2-3 inning. Ram trucks. Carlos Perez, first at bat in the major league level, got a fastball up high from Paxton, went the other way. Good level swing. First major league hit. And the baseball thrown in to Eric Ibar, who did the usual, pretend to throw it in the stands. And Carlos smiling, looking for that baseball, because that's an unbelievable souvenir for Carlos Perez.
One for two with a single and a ground out. Fouls this one off to the right. Carlos called up before the game yesterday. Drew Butera was designated for assignment. Getting his first start tonight. Paxton at 82 pitches. 3 strikeouts, 3 walks. It's an 8-9-1 here in the 7th. 2-1 count. Cowgill on deck, then Calhoun. Garrett Richards now done after 7 innings. Off the plate, 3 balls, 1 strike.
I really like what Mike Scioscia did. Allowed him to go back out there for the 7th inning. Had a great 1-2-3 inning. The last 4 starts against.
Perez gets into one out to left center field. Ackley giving chase, and he'll track it down. Good jump by Ackley, robbing Perez of extra bases.
He's
1 down.
A couple really good plays out in the outfield for Ackley. That one up against the wall. And C.J. Cron. And now that one going a long, long way to track down that baseball hit. Well, again by Carlos Perez.
Simple approach at the plate.
Yeah, his hands are quick.
Yeah.
It's a good level swing.
Cowgill looking to bunt, takes a strike.
Let's get back to Richards. His last 4 starts against Seattle, 0.61 ERA.
Collin up the middle, hits off the mound. Cano was shading Collin that way. 2 outs. And be sure to follow the Angels all season long with MLB.com at bat. #1 app for live baseball. At bat up to the moment. At any moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcast, statcast, and more. Get MLB.com at bat for your smartphone or tablet today. 6 in a row retired now by Paxton since issuing intentional walk to Pujols in the 5th. Cole 2 for 3 with a couple of singles and a run scored. Joe Smith getting ready to pitch the 8th. 3, 4, and 5 for Seattle coming up. Cano, Cruz, and Seager. One, 2. Cole chases the breaking ball, and the Angels go down in order. 7 complete. Halo still lead at 2-1.
Angels hanging on to a 2-1 lead over the Mariners. I'm Patrick O'Neill. Join us after the game for Angels Live. So far, lots of good stuff to talk about. Albert Pujols, of course, with the home run. Garrett Richards, outstanding. And how about the debut for Carlos Perez? Talked to him before the game. Nerves of steel, not feeling any butterflies, so he said. Got his first knock. He also bought MLB TV for his entire family back in Venezuela. I imagine everybody was up on their feet in Valencia, Venezuela when he hit that shot to the wall, but Ackley took hold of it. But I tell you, Victor and Mark, pretty impressive debut for this young 23-year-old.
No doubt about it. And only bought MLB.TV because we just did the read for it. That's why. Got it on a smartphone or tablet.
You got the app, yeah.
No doubt. But Joe Smith takes over here in the 8th inning. Start in and out. Who's in, who's out? Garrett Richards, 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 5 strikeouts, and 2 walks. Joe will be facing Cano, Cruz, and Seager. Smith on the season, pitching down his 12th game. 0-1 and a 1.69 ERA. 10 and 2/3 innings, 11 hits, 12 strikeouts, and 4 walks. First game for Joe since the Friday game, in which he gave up the winning run in the 9th inning against the San Francisco Giants. Meanwhile, no action in the Mariners pen, so Paxton looks like he'll be coming out for the 8th as Cano fouls off the first pitch. Robinson 2 for 3, 2 singles and a ground ball to second. It's a Mariners team that while they may have struggled overall offensively, can't hit the long ball, and you got to be careful with that. Second in the American League in home runs this year, and Cano drives one out toward right center field. Trout giving chase, not going to get there. One hops the fence. So Cano, a 3-hit game. It's a leadoff double to start this 8th.
Yeah, you were basically hoping Cano got out of town before he started to get that swing together. It struggled the early part of the season, but he certainly has not struggled here tonight.
The double, his 10th of the year.
The fastball in the inner half, but it ended up running back out over the plate.
So tying run in scoring position now. Nelson Cruz at the plate, 0 for 3, 2 fly ball outs and a strikeout. The Mariners tonight 1 for 9 with men in scoring position. Cruz will look at a strike. Nelson Cruz 1 for 9 in his career against Joe Smith. Double by Cano, just his second hit against Smith. That slider in there. 1 and 2.
It's that good frisbee slider from Joe.
Perez set up outside. The slider fouled back over the screen. 33,394 here tonight. Sombrero giveaway night on Cinco de Mayo. One, two. Swing and a foul at the plate. Hope you've enjoyed Cinco de Mayo today. Remember, you got work tomorrow.
Yes, indeed.
It's a Tuesday. Right?
Yes.
It's amazing how you lose track of days during the season, especially on the road. Another 1-2. Fastball. Little dribbler. Third base side. David Freese comes in. Barehanded. Off balance. Throw. And they got him.
Wow, what a play by Freese. Good base running, too, by Cano to get to third base. But what a play. Very difficult play, playing back because of the power. with Cruz coming in on that slow roller. All in one motion. Perfect throw to Pujols. I'm going to force the infield in now.
Infield in, and Seager looks at a strike. Seager tonight a strikeout, fly ball to left, and a pop-up to Johnny Giavotella. This is pulled into right field, a base hit. Cano will score, and this game is tied at 2. Seager 0 for 2 in his brief career against Joe Smith. Delivers as he picks up his 13th RBI of the season.
With the infield in, much more difficult for an infielder. Line drive just by Giavotella.
One out, one on, and Logan Morrison at the plate. He bounces this one foul. Morrison with a couple of doubles and an intentional walk. So no decision for Garrett Richards. He was looking for his 3rd win. Second straight outing now for Joe, in which he's allowed a run. Cano getting it started with a double to right center. 2-2 game here in the 8th. This line to center field. That will get down for a base hit. So Morrison with a 3-hit game. 3rd hit allowed by Smith here in the 8th.
Something you don't see too often against Joe.
And here comes Mike Zunino, the catcher. Perez out to talk things over. Second time this year Joe's allowed 3 hits in an inning. The other was against the Texas Rangers here on April 26th. Allowed 1 run in that one. Zunino 1 for 2. RBI single in the first. Hit by pitch the last time up as that slider misses in. Seager at second, Morrison at first. Slider. It's in there. That's the get it over slider. He evens up to count at 1-1. 8 hits now for Seattle. Halos have 4. The Angels in the bottom of the 8th do have 2, 3, and 4 coming up. Trout, Pujols, and Freese. We'll see if Paxton goes back out there. If Lloyd McClendon goes to the pen. Fastball just low. 2-1.
It didn't miss by a lot though.
Fernando Salas now getting ready. Chopper foul. So 2 balls and 2 strikes. Dustin Ackley on deck. Salas getting ready for the Angels. And Danny Farquhar beginning to play a light catch now for Seattle. Paxton though he's been fine as far as the pitch count is concerned, having retired the last 7 in a row. 2-2 now. Fastball, and boy, pretty close. Tried to lock him up away. Just missed, and it's a full count.
Yeah, you wonder if it touches the outside corner. Real close.
Seattle tying it here in the 8th. RBI singled by Seager. 3-2 pitch. That is hit down the right field line. That could be trouble. Calhoun giving chase. One hops into the seats. It'll bring in a run. And Seattle has taken the lead 3-2 on the double by Mike Zunino.
After not getting that pitch called just at the outside corner, this one got a little bit more of the plate. And it's a nice piece of hitting from Zunino going the other way.
Mike Scioscia coming out, and that's going to be it for Joe Smith. A pitching change here in the 8th. The Halos have given up the lead. They're trailing now 3-2. Making tires for game-changing traction inspires what they roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven. Here in the 8th inning, Fernando Salas takes over on the mound for Joe Smith. With 1 out and runners at second and third, Dustin Ackley coming to the plate. Joe Smith giving up 4 hits in his 1/3 of an inning. It's the first time he's allowed 4 hits in a game since August of 2013. Zunino delivering with the RBI double, his second RBI of the night. Morrison over at third. Salas pitching his 12th game, 0-1 record of .476 ERA.
Infield back in.
Fernando last pitched on Friday, went 1 inning in that one. Allowed a hit, everything else zeros. Ackley takes down and away. Mariner left fielder has gone 0 for 3 tonight. Struck out his last time up. Ackley shoots one to left field, not very deep. Colin Cowgill comes in, makes the catch, tagging. There's Morrison. The throw is in foul territory, so it goes to sac
check
fly.
to make sure he tagged up on that one.
They're saying he did tag up. Mike Scioscia can't believe it, so they'll call downstairs. But Cowgill did everything he could to get to that ball and got rid of it quickly. It's tough play for the outfielder. So it's a sac fly right now, and it's a 4-2 lead. Here's a look at that tag up at third base. Got to wait till the ball touches the glove. It looks like he did.
Yeah, it looked like he did. That's a reviewable play this year.
So Ackley picks up his 4th RBI. And now it's Chris Taylor up with Zunino at second, 2 outs. That run, of course, in charge of Smith. Taylor 0 for 3. 2 fly ball outs and a strikeout. Pulls this one to short. Ibar has it. Inning over, but damage is done. 3 runs in for Seattle. We head to the bottom of the 8th. Trout, Pujols, Freeze coming up. The Angels down now 4-2.
Update. Twins offense sparks win streak. They had won 5 in a row, averaging nearly 8 runs a game, but Oakland beat them tonight 2-1. And the Nationals, National Pride, trying to get back to that 500 mark. They also lost their game to the Miami Marlins 2-1. Strasburg on the mound, but left after just 3 innings pitched for the Washington Nationals.
Seattle on top 4-2 here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Danny Farquhar, the right-hander, takes over for James Paxton. Farquhar pitching in his 12th game this year. 0-1 record of 4.05 ERA. 11 strikeouts, 4 walks in 13 1/3 innings.
Fastball 90-95, cut fastball, which he throws a lot of. He'll throw a curveball and changeup.
Trout, Pujols, and Freeze for the Halos here in the 8th inning. Paxton allowed 2 runs on 4 hits in 7 innings. 4 strikeouts, 3 walks, one of which was intentional. And he finished off by retiring the last 7 in a row. Mike is 0 for 3. 2 fly balls to right and a punch out.
Last time up on a 2-0 count, he expanded the strike zone and chased a breaking ball in the dirt. See if he's under control in this swing.
He's ahead of the count at 3-0 now. Trout 2 for 5 against Farquhar. There was a strike, 3-1. Pujols also 2 for 5. Jammed him, and that's popped up to Logan Morrison. 1 down.
One day key to this game. To be successful, especially against this Mariner pitching, right into. Use that big part of the field. Look away. Drive the ball that way. Pujols drove in 2 with a home run back in the 1st inning. Looking to get this rally started now after that jam shot from Mike Trout.
Intentionally walked at his last plate appearance. Angels offense has managed just 4 hits in this one. Cole Calhoun has 2 of them. Pujols with the home run, and Perez his first big league hit, and that was in the 2nd. Last hit for the Angels, the single by Cole in the 5th. Charlie Furbush getting ready, the lefty. Little jab shot into right. That'll get down for a base hit. So 2-hit game for Albert. That's back-to-back games in which he has picked up 2 knocks. It'll bring up the tying run now and Freeze.
Yeah, he's squared up a couple of baseballs tonight. Nothing to show for it yet. Big home run last night to dead center field. Could use that now.
Oh for 3 night. Squared up a couple of baseballs, lined out to Ackley the first, lined out to Taylor short. Look at her strike. Freeze 1 for 3 in his career against Farquhar. That cut fastball.
Back-to-back cut fastballs.
Lifted foul and out of play down the right field line. 1-2. David last night gets Fernando Rodney. Goes down by 2. To the Angels within 1.
That's a long way. He hit that baseball last night.
5th of the year.
Zanino's so quick. That pitch was thrown in the left-handed batter's box. And this curveball, overthrown curveball. Great technique from Zunino. Not only be able to catch that, but look and see where Albert Pujols, just in case he would try to go.
Full count now. Eric Ibar is on deck. Here's the payoff, and he walked him. So the tying run on board now. The single followed by the walk. Here comes Ibar.
That's a pretty good at bat for Freeze. There was some close pitches. He did not chase. A pinch runner for Freeze, the tying run.
Taylor Featherston comes in. Stays in the game, play third.
See if her can get one of those cut fastballs on the inner half and turn and hit right down that right field corner.
Eric is 0 for 3 today. It's called down the last time of trying to bunt. Gives to the home plate umpire saying that he was out of the batter's box when he actually was in the box. First one down low. Seven of the 8 RBIs for Ibar have come from the left side of the plate. He's got Pujols at second and Featherston at first. Outfield shallow all the way around. Seager about even with the bag at third. 1-1. That's up and away. 2 balls, 1 strike. Halos had a 2-1 lead going into the top of the 8th inning. Seattle on 4 hits, scored 3 times against Joe Smith to take a 4-2 lead. Angels trying to answer back here in the bottom of the inning.
Good hitters count for Ibar.
This one's pulled to the right side, base hit. Pujols is going to be waved in. Going to third is Featherston. The throw is cut off, and the Angels are down to 1.
This will be a pinch hitter. John Giamatello coming to the plate. Boy, turn on that pitch. Good hitters count. Got it through the hole. Garrett DiSarcina sending Pujols home, and Featherston gets the third.
Here comes Lloyd McClendon. You have a left-hander warming up at the pen, or was warming up, and that was Charlie Furbush. See what they decide to do here. Johnny Giavotella 2 for 2 in his career against Farquhar with a home run.
Yeah, squaring up that cut fastball. See, that's a pitch that Giavotella is pretty good with. That belt high to letter high fastball, and that's a lot of those pitches you see from Farquhar is a cut fastball.
Frank Gibson out to break up the meeting of the minds.
There's still always that conversation about a potential squeeze play. I don't see a squeeze being put on right here from Mike Socha. You mentioned those numbers for Giavotella against Farquhar. It's a long meeting. It's a good conversation amongst all. A nice at bat for Eric Ibar.
Picking up his 9th run batted in. Tying run over at third. And you've got to be cognizant of that if you're Featherston with the big breaking ball from Farquhar. As good as Zunino is behind the plate. Anything gets away. Take a shot. Put throw to first and Ibar back.
Yeah, one wild pitch so far this year for Farquhar.
4-3 Seattle, bottom of the 8th, 1 out. Runners at the corners. Giavotella 0 for 2 today. He chops this with foul, tried to pull that cut fastball.
Well, you see Seager, he's right over there by third base. He doesn't move till last second. Staying right by Featherston. See if he's picking something up as far as potential squeeze.
And also trying to listen in and see what DiSarcina is telling Featherston. He's near the bag again. 0-1. Pitch out, nothing's happening.
And that's all part of that, the conversation. Mike Socha generally does it, and when he puts a suicide squeeze on, it's always seems to be the second pitch. Obviously, that's a scouting report you get. And you can see Seager right there, right by DiSarcina as he has that conversation, looking for what word is he saying to him.
1-1 pitch. Giavotella, ground ball to left side, past Seager, past Taylor. We're tied up at 4. RBI single by Johnny B. Good ties this game up.
Three for 3 now against Farquhar for Giavotella. Pitch out over the plate again, belt high. But you wonder with Seager so close to third base, was he able to get back in time as that ball got by him and just by Taylor at short also.
4-4 tied, 2 on, 1 out. C.J. Cron at the plate. Cron breaks his bat, bounces one to third. Seager touches the bag across the diamond. And just like that, we are done. But the Halos do tie things up. Ibar and Giavotella will head to the 9th, tied at 4. We start the 9th inning, and it's Houston Street now on in relief. Andy Farquhar giving up the 2 runs and doing so on 3 hits, 1 walk. Street taking over for Fernando Salas, who ended up going 2/3 of an inning.
Nice job by Fernando to be able to slow down that Mariner offense. He had some good swings, which is unusual to see against Joe Smith.
Taylor Featherston stays in the game. Pinch ran for Freese. He'll take over at 3rd.
That was a real good at bat for Freese too, to work that walk. There were some tough pitches just off the outside corner. Showed some patience.
So 2 setup guys, 2 8th inning guys giving up some runs today. And Joe Smith, Danny Farquhar. Houston Street scheduled to face the top of the order here for Seattle. Smith, Ruggiano, and Cano. As Seattle sent 7 men to the plate in the 8th inning. Seth Smith 0 for 4. Popped out his last time up. Houston pitching in his 10th game. No record. An even 1 earned run average. 9 innings, 5 hits, 10 strikeouts, 3 walks, 9 saves on the year. Three infielders on the right side. Smith takes down low. 1 ball, no strikes. One ball, 1 strike. Well, the 2 teams in the 8th inning combined for 7 hits. 2 offenses that had struggled,
especially with guys in scoring position, to have some good swings.
2 balls and a strike.
Gianvitella once again coming through with a clutch hit, but that great swing from Ibar also. On a 2-1 count.
Smith lofts one out toward left center field. Trout was shading him that way. 1 away. Center fielder Justin Ruggiano coming up now. He's 0 for 3. A strikeout, a walk, and a couple of groundouts. Good off-speed pitch, and 0-1 count. Garrett Richards got the start tonight. 7 innings, 1 run, 5 hits, 5 Ks. Joe Smith lasting just 1/3 of an inning, giving up 4 hits and 3 runs. Salas 2/3 of an inning. 1-1 now. Foul at the plate. 1-2.
Slider that was up at the change of speed. Got him out in front.
Robinson Cano, the man who started the rally for Seattle in the 8th inning, is on deck. That's Dominic Leone getting ready. Halos in the 9th have 8, 9, and 1 due up. Perez, Cowgill, and Calhoun. Fastball got him looking. 2 down. Right on the outside part of the plate.
Way after a slider paints the outside corner. Really was expanding the strike zone. And this one getting that outside corner too low. 1 middle part of the plate on a slider, but finished him off with a fastball.
Cano, a 3-hit game, 2 singles and a double.
1 for 9 for Cano versus Houston Street.
It's his second 3-hit game of the season. The other back on April 19th against Texas. Changeup. 2 balls and no strikes. Nelson Cruz on deck. That's out towards center field. Trout moving back on it. Still racing back near the wall. Will make the catch. A 1-2-3 inning for Houston Street. We head to the bottom of the 9th. Tied at 4. Perez, Cowgill, and Calhoun due up for the Angels here tonight. Then it's Dominic Leone taking over for Danny Farquhar. Leone on the season 0-2 with a 4.32 ERA, a total of 8 1/3 innings. He'll be facing Carlos Perez, who made his major league debut tonight behind the plate. Got his first big league hit, his first big league at bat in the 2nd inning. And that was a clean single off of James Paxton.
Leone fastball, 92-96, slider, cut fastball, changeup.
A fun night here at the ballpark with the sombrero giveaway, the Guinness World Record. And what was a 2-1 lead, but nice to see the Angels rally back at the bottom of the 8th to tie things up at 4. Breaking ball in for a strike. First time this year that Leone has faced the Angels. Breaking ball hammered out to left field. Dustin Ackley going back at the wall. Drive home safely. Carlos Perez with a walk-off big fly, first of his career.
Are you kidding me? Walk-off, first major league game, single first at bat, and then the walk-off piece. For Carlos Perez, have yourself a first game in the major leagues. And the smile. Hanging breaking ball out over the plate. Perez, who had 2 home runs, a 12 RBI down in AAA, was at 361. But this is the show. Big fly.
5-4, Halos win it. Let's go down to Alex Curry. Alex.
You can't even write it how you did it. Your major league debut, getting your first big league hit, your first walk-off. Put this feeling into words right now.
I think it's my first days, and that's my dedicated for my whole family, and I'm really excited.
And look at this team right now. They're all staying out here to celebrate you. How good does it feel to help them get this win and snap that losing streak?
That's all about win. I think we battle all the time. We be aggressive. We stay in the game and win the game.
You did stay in the game. You did a great job catching Garrett Richards, who battled through some stuff tonight, but came back like an ace. How good was it for him?
I mean, I can explain. You know, my first time here and do that for the team is really exciting.
Well, congratulations. I'm sure all these Angel fans are very excited to welcome you up to the big league club. Give it up for Carlos Perez. What a win by the Halos tonight. A storybook first game for Carlos Perez. Incredible. Major league debut, walk-off home run. Don't go anywhere, because Patrick O'Neill and Jose Mota will break it all down on Angels Live, presented by your SoCal Mazda dealers.